So this video is for my buyers who are intending to use their VA loan. Let's talk about something that can confuse buyers, and this actually came up for a buyer recently with me. Let's talk about your VA funding fee. So VA loans are a wonderful, wonderful product. They have a lot of benefits, including the most typical one, which is no down payment. That's what most of my current service members and veterans are thinking of. They want the no down payment option. There's also typically better interest rate options for VA loans, and they don't carry any monthly mortgage insurance. So typically with a VA loan, your payment could be lower than using another program where you're putting the minimum down. Really just depends. But we do encourage veterans and current service members to use their VA loan because, again, it's a great option for you. However, there is something that trips a lot of people up, and that is the VA funding fee. All VA loans, unless you are exempt, will have a funding fee that is financed. And I tell everyone when they go, why? Well, nothing is free in life. You are getting a government-backed loan with no down payment and no monthly mortgage insurance. They're going to get their money, and that's through the VA funding fee. So that is financed through your loan, though, so you don't have to pay that at closing. But the funding fee differs too, whether it's your first time that you're using it, the second or third or fourth or fifth time that you're using it, or if you're doing a refinance. So that funding fee will technically go up the more times you use your VA loan. There are, however, exceptions. Some individuals are exempt from the funding fee. The only ways you are typically exempt, the number one way, is VA disability. If you were getting VA disability and your disability has already been finished and you're receiving it monthly, depending on your percentage of disability, you will typically be exempt from the funding fee. And we're going to find that out through your certificate of eligibility. I have a lot of veterans who have told me, like, well, I think I'm exempt. It comes down to your certificate of eligibility if you are exempt or not. That's the number one way we're going to find out. But disability is number one, including if you are getting VA retirement and disability is a portion of that, you may already be exempt. The other way that you will typically be exempt is if you are active duty and you've received a Purple Heart. You will typically receive exempt status from the funding fee. And the final way you can receive exempt status is if you are a surviving spouse using that spouse's VA benefit and that spouse passed away either during active duty or from the disability related service item. Then as the surviving spouse, you're able to use that person's VA benefit, and they will typically be exempt from the funding fee. But I did have it come up recently for a borrower where another lender told them they were exempt from the funding fee and their disability had not been finalized with the VA. Their COE showed that they were not exempt from the funding fee. The lender told them they were. So they went with that lender to find out about halfway through the process, as I had warned them, they were not exempt from the funding fee. And it's not that the funding fee increases your mortgage by hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but it will increase the mortgage because it's now part of your loan amount. So for example, if you're under contract for $350,000, your loan amount may be $357,000 or more, depending on your funding fee. So it is something to consider, but it is something we have to use that COE to verify. Now, if there's some sort of error and that individual knows that they are exempt, but their COE is not reflecting it for some reason, then we can definitely reach out to the VA and go through their process to verify it and have it corrected. But in general, unless you are disabled as a VA individual, you're active with your Purple Heart, or you're a surviving spouse and you know that they passed away for one of the disability reasons, you will typically not be exempt from the funding fee. It will be part of your loan and it will be added. So there are exceptions, though. I did have an individual that they were going through the disability piece. They knew it would be coming up after closing. And if you do at some point become disabled as a veteran or active service member technically, and you become exempt in the future, you can reach out to the VA, let them know of that change in status, and they will actually refund you your funding fee. So you don't always have to keep the funding fee, but in the beginning, you will likely pay that funding fee within the loan, and it's financed in. So just a good little education piece. It does trip up a lot of my VA individuals. It's not something that's really talked about a lot in the beginning loan process. It's typically just the zero down payment piece that's talked about the most. So wanted to educate you a little bit. If you have any questions or you want to check out your VA options and make sure you're getting the best deal, feel free to reach out.